co-curriculum and policy. Are there any items that are wish to be pulled and voted on second?
Next, D1 and 2,
Hold on.
E2,
D1
and
D2.
and E2.
I think all of those are going to be, D1 is just an explanation.
Right.
D2 is the actual motion, so that's just all one thing. And then, so you want E1 and 2 voted on separately. So, are there any other items under CCP? Okay. Item A is for informational purposes only. Item B is for discussion only. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. In the form of a motion, recommend approval of curriculum, co-curriculum, and policy committee items C, F, or no, I'm not going to do F. I'm going to pull F. C, G, H, and I.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor for the policy and curriculum to recommend approval. Curriculum, co-curriculum, and policy. That's been okay. C, F, no, C, G, H, and I. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Brennan.
Any discussion on those letters? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Form of motion, recommend approval of a motion to suspend for the purposes of amending motion. In the form of motion, I move to suspend policy 003 and 006 for the limited purposes of amending policy 615 payroll deductions and policy 610 purchases subject to bid. That the procedural requirement that a proposed policy amendment must be introduced at a prior board meeting and remain on the succeeding agenda until either approved or rejected as outlined in board policy.
I got a motion on the floor for D2. Do I have a second?
Steve Yoder, second.
Do I have any discussion? None for D2?
Yeah, because that's we need 2/3 on that.
Then all
Easier first. It'd be easier for a roll call.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll do a roll call on D2, E, 1, and 2. All right, go ahead. Wait, is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Nick Lovell,
Yes.
Deanie Ewan,
Yes.
Janelle Wrestler,
Yes.
Dwayne Sullivan,
No.
Carl Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Yerger,
Yes.
Danielle Brenneman,
Yes.
Mary Brenneman.
Yes.
Brian is absent.
Okay, motion carries.
Motion carries.
In the form of motion, recommend approval of policy final approval of policy 615 payroll deductions.
Okay, the motion on the floor for policy 615 payroll deductions. Is there a second on that?
Steve Yoder, second.
Any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none, Tom, please.
Deanie Ewan,
Yes.
Janelle Wrestler,
Yes.
Dwayne Sullivan,
This is on policy 615?
yes.
Yes.
Carl Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Yerger,
Yes.
Danielle Brenneman,
Yes.
Mary Brenneman,
Yes.
Nick Lovell.
Yes. Motion carries. In the form of motion, recommend final approval of policy 610 purchases subject to bid.
Okay, the motion on the floor for 610 purchases to bid. I need a second.
Steve Yoder, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Tom, one more time, please.
Janelle Wrestler,
Yes.
Dwayne Sullivan,
No.
Carl Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Yerger,
Yes.
Danielle Brenneman,
Yes.
Mary Brenneman,
Yes.
Nick Lovell,
Yes.
Jeannie Ewan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Form of motion to recommend approval of the CBA MOU regarding payroll deductions.
Got a motion on the floor to approve, recommend approval of the CBA MOU regarding payroll deductions. This is not on the previous board, this has been since the last one. This is a motion for payroll deduction for benefits for the public service. Okay. I have a motion to move forward, do I have a second?
Second, Danielle Brenneman.
Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
End of report.
Okay, Brian is not here. Steve, do you have anything for the JRC?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Nick?
Nothing from PSBA.
LIU, y'all got something in your emails? Dr. Missel, you're up.
Yeah, I just want to share, I'm going to share what Ms. Brenneman shared earlier tonight, FFA, just so that I can share with you. I was told by Mr. Brandt today how well our FFA has done. I'm passing out some documents to share with you. We have qualified through nationals, for nationals. We have actually 2 state champion FFA teams in the area of agronomy and forestry. So congratulations to all those students that were part of that. Overall, there were 27 students and 4 teams in this competition, and 2 teams came in first place. Going on to nationals coming up this fall, I believe it is in October.
Nationals is around
October.
Halloween.
Yeah, October
October
29th through November 1st. Yep, so congratulations to them and our fantastic FFA program. That's the end of my report.
Wow.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
All right, FMX report is also in your packet for technology and monthly enrollment. Do we have any other new business?
I do have a question for Tim. On this, about 2 weeks ago-ish, week and a half ago, we had a conversation about desks and chairs and what we were gonna be getting rid of, and we had 3 phone conversations that day. Just wondering if you had found out who gave the approval or who put the chairs and the desks in the dumpsters and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think the dumpsters were open and ready for the chairs to go in. They were just being prepared for the summer workers. That would be our maintenance department that put them in there for that recycling. We did see that there were enough people that were coming through and still getting them out of the dumpsters that were there. They are disposed, they're trash, so they are public property and able to be picked up.
Right. Okay.
I do. 2 items. If the board would indulge me on this conversation a little bit. I get a chance to review the solicitor invoices every month, and I am very disturbed about the fact that a lot of the items listed by the date is not specific enough. I would like to see it more specific as to what was talked about every time, due to transparency. I would like to see that. As you all well know, when I was board president, that was one of the biggest topics that came up that we should all as a board know specifically every conversation, every time, and what it was about. And I'm not seeing that in looking at these invoices.
Mr. Sullivan, I'm not sure if I may. I'm not sure that the rest of the board understands what you're talking about. May I try to help articulate what you're saying?
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Sullivan, during his review of the solicitor invoices today, saw some of the terms as pending legal matters that Dave and I discussed and talk about based on previous conversations. It kind of goes through and it says pending legal matters. And I believe that Mr. Sullivan is asking the board to consider whether or not the board wishes to have more clarity or if pending legal matters is acceptable. Is that what you're stating, Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, there was other couple items that I'm not gonna get into that also were very generic. It kind of just said, talk to the solicitor, and I'm just paraphrasing. And I'm like, that's not specific enough. It really needs to have the detail of what's
And
talking
Mr.
about.
Sullivan, for me, it's specific enough for me to be able to talk to you about what was being shared, what the conversations were. And it would be specific enough for me to share with any other board member that wished to review the solicitor invoices. However, I think that it's really based here on what the board wishes to be able to go through. Do you wish to have more clarity with what's being stated in the solicitor invoices? Or are terms like pending legal matters, review of litigation matters, things like that acceptable?
So when you go to verify that you've been billed properly, how, if it's generic descriptions, how do you know?
Because it's on the date and the time that I called.
So what if
It's
something
okay.
happens to you, how do you check that invoice?
Then if there's an issue or there's a concern, Tom and I would talk with these guys. But if it's me, you're right. If something happens to me, it's listed that's there.
You have more in-depth if something was
Knowledge.
happening.
Right.
Yeah, it's just as
No,
far
I'm just
as.
saying, I was an auditor,
Yeah.
I like details.
I do too.
So it would fall back on.
You're asking about Dr. Mitchell's conversations?
Well, no, in general, and I'm not picking on you, Dr. Mitchell, and don't think I am. I'm saying in general to all of it, whether it be Carol Fiaschi, whether it be anybody, we ought to have a description in there to where we can at least think in our head, all right, this is what it was about. This is what's the conversation, and not just jump around to like a pending issue or something like that, because that doesn't tell me anything.
Dr. Mitchell or Dr. Fiaschi, have either one of you refused to disclose the topic to Mr.
Well,
Sullivan or any other board member?
That's not the case, Nick.
Right.
Can I explain?
Well, mine are student related, so I would not share any specific
No.
information.
No, but in my defense, and nothing against you, Dr. Mitchell, but in 30 minutes, I'm just going to read them, Nick. I don't have the time to be questioning them every single time, so it should be written down to where I can understand it without having to question.
Previous concerns and the reason that it was policy implemented was because the person who had the conversation with the solicitor refused to disclose to the board.
I didn't refuse to disclose anything. It was attorney-client privilege, which, by the way, Don Mill proved it's
We're not
there.
gonna go back, we're not gonna go back down.
It's there, and Chris Harris said it was there,
No,
so,
that's wrong.
no, it's not wrong. Chris
Right,
Harris
is there a
said.
question on the? Okay.
And
Have
also-
anything else?
Well,
Yes.
well, and remember, we have to be careful with what we know too, because we are the
But we
jurors.
should know it, because.
No, we shouldn't, because if we're the jurors, then we're skewed in
No,
what
but-
comes
There's certain
forth.
things we're not
But
allowed
Janelle,
to know.
in all fairness, if I was still board president and they came to you and said, look, Dwayne has 6 classifications here in a row where he spent $700 and it just says pending conversations, you would be like, I wanna know what it is.
But we're not,
And-
but Carl's not doing that, the superintendent is.
I don't have any.
matter.
I know.
Have you
But we
had
ought to know them
anything-
both, because it's an 012 clarity. It was supposed to bring transparency. That's why we did 012. And we're not being transparent. Another issue on that note is the solicitor reports. I've noted that we've had 2 solicitor reports done, one on 414 and one on 515, and I have not seen them. And that's another issue. That was also written in 012. We were supposed to be seeing them as a board.
Was May when we went back and you gave us all the reports, was that April?
No, we didn't have 414 and
I think it was
415.
April, but the solicitor reports are different than the
Yeah.
solicitor invoice.
So we're not even
Okay.
seeing them.
So I
Is he
think
looking
we
at
should,
invoices or reports?
I think we should let Mr. Walker speak on behalf of these items.
Yeah, so, and thank you, Tim. So, Mr. Sullivan, to your point, the board does have a right to see invoices. And I will stand by the detail that I put in these invoices. We put as much in there as we legally can. To Dr. Fiaschi's point, if it's student matters, we can't put student names in there. These
Well,
are
that's
subject-
not in there.
Hang on, these are subject to the right to know law. If it's an employment issue, I can't put an employee's name in there and discuss what ADA accommodations Dr. Mitchell and I may have been talking about. But the board is the client here. All 9 of you are the client. And if you, as a board, direct me, these invoices will read however you want. I have no problem doing that, and I will sit down with you, Mr. Sullivan, and go through every single line of fees if there's any questions. I have no issue with that. And hang on, and I will push back against any assertion that there's a lack of transparency in any way, particularly with how I run my practice compared to other solicitors you've had in the past. So I want to be very clear with that and say publicly, I don't think there's an issue with the costs, I don't think there's an issue with the content, and I will gladly sit down with you to discuss every single line of those invoices.
But that costs the district money.
I'll do it for free. I'll come down and do it for free before the board, just for you, okay? But I'm not gonna sit here and let you say publicly, you don't have a problem with what Dr. Mitchell's showing, because you're inferring that there's a problem with what I'm putting there.
No,
It's been
no.
month after month of this going on, and I wanna make sure it's stated publicly, there is no problem with the content of these invoices and no lack of transparency.
There, okay,
Understood?
understood, but in my defense, Mr. Walker, I have December 2023 through through October 29, 2024 invoices. They are way more specific than the ones you're printing out right now, and I'm going to put you to that. They are, and that I don't like. There was no pending this, no pending that. Everything was written out.
And when a right to know request comes into those invoices,
You got
the
to.
district staff will have to spend tens of hours redacting those invoices.
So if the
I will
public,
provide the transparency.
if the public can get
I'm happy to
it,
do so.
if the public can get it, then that means I should get it.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat what you said, because I didn't hear you, because there was over-speaking and I was needing clarification.
I'm happy to provide these invoices in whichever form this board wants, and I'm happy to sit down with any board member and go over them line by line. If it's transparency you're looking for, every single board member is entitled to that, and you will get it. I don't have a problem with that.
What about right to know? If the right to know request came in for these with specificity that was there, like being discussed.
Then they would have to be redacted as permitted under the right to know law to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to protect confidential student information, to protect confidential employee information, and the like. Litigation strategy, there's reasons why the Office of Open Records allows for the redaction of legal invoices under the right to know law.
So would you say that you're balancing the wording to be transparent and limited, proactive, so that if a right to know came in, it would require the minimum number of staff hours to redact information?
Correct.
So does it have to be redacted for board members too? Like it would be, if we did a right to know, it would be redacted?
No, well, if you did a right to know law request, yes, but as board members, if you come in to look at them in your time, we're not redacting the ones Mr. Sullivan's looking at. Yeah.
Then why not hand them to me? There you go. If they're that less redactable, why not just give them to me every month?
Will you guarantee you're not gonna distribute them to?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a decision on the board to be able to change that specificity.
I haven't given the ones I have all.
So do we have to vote on this or not?
Well, I think it's really a straw poll that you would take. I don't know that it's
Or
a
board
vote.
Straw poll. I think we've already taken the straw poll
Yeah,
once
I
already.
think we have.
As it is, or giving him full details, which I just, I'm not comfortable.
Giving
even
him full
myself
details
having all
isn't,
that.
giving full details is not on the board,
Okay.
because that's not in the board's best interest, in my opinion.
But just continue doing what we're doing.
Just continue to what we're doing.
Yes.
And if he has a question about what it is, he asks.
And
Yeah.
Dave, actually said that he'll come and meet with you.
That's
I
a decision that you
understand,
will
but
work
it
out.
would be better, it would be better if I had them in my possession like I've had them for over a year.
Okay, there's a chain of custody issue here.
No, there isn't.
There's a chain of custody
Have
issue.
you proven it? Have you proven it, Steve? This is all talk.
Okay, we're gonna do a straw poll, whether we, if the straw poll is up or down, whether we stay, we're consistent with what we're doing. No means no, we wanna give, the bills to Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah.
Up,
What now?
Up.
What's the vote?
Is that right?
I'll explain it.
Keep it
Yes.
as it is.
Yes, just
Thumbs
keep
up,
it as it is.
Up is,
Thumbs up, keep it as it
Yes,
is.
right. Ms. Brownman,
Yes.
as
Was
is.
it, thumbs-
Brian, oh, you're not here. Nick? Ms. Brownman, okay. Mr. Sullivan, if you wanna keep them the way that they are, the records the way they are, you would say yes. If you don't wanna keep the records the way you are, that you want them to, you would say no. Your answer is?
What do you mean keep the records are?
The way they are, the way you're getting them now is yes, and the way you want them is no.
No.
Okay, I say yes, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a 7 to no, 7 to 1 straw poll, that we're gonna keep it the way it is. Okay, is there anything else?
Yes. What what I know, I don't know, we talked about something in executive session. Do we have to go back to executive session, or can we need to talk about it in public? Say, not say.
Supposed to say
Is it
something.
personnel
Neighbor
matter?
personnel?
Yeah, well, it was about the personnel matter.
Can we discuss it in executive session after the meeting adjourns?
Sure,
Okay.
as long as it's part of this meeting. I mean, like, considered part of the, okay, that's fine, yes.
Because we can't take any action on anything else because nothing else. is
No.
planned.
Right,
All
okay.
Is there anything else?
So, Carl, to
Yes.
make clear, the board has decided to not give a board member the solicitor invoices. Am I
No,
clear
we
on that?
decided,
No,
we
you
decided
get
to keep it the way it is currently.
You get the invoices.
No, I don't.
Invoices the way they are now,
And,
I
it-
don't.
and Dave will meet with you. Dave said he would do that.
And I don't get them.
But you can still come see them.
I don't want to keep driving in here to see them. I want to get them like I used to. Because I'm a board member and I am supposed to see these invoices.
But we also, remember, we had said, but we're the juror if something were to come up. So
Doesn't
we have to
matter.
be careful what we can
I've
see.
had them for over a year and there's been no trial and I've had no issues.
We actually had
We
a trial.
had, there was a trial.
All right, We've
That's
already
fine.
discussed it, but we've finished with that. Is there anything else?
Also, we're not going to give them to a board member.
You are getting them.
No, you're not going to give them to me physically. That's what you all were
So I
saying.
have a motion to adjourn,
No,
Motion
I
to
want to
adjourn.
know.
Second.
seconded. All those
So
in
you're not gonna
favor
answer?
signify by saying aye.
You said
Everybody
you
seeing
get
this?
them.
Not answering.
Okay, meeting's adjourned.
There we go. There's your answer.